In this brief video lecture, we're going to learn about some of the important factors that affect memory. Before we begin, see if you can write down the gifts given on the 12 days of Christmas without cheating. Pause if you need to give yourself more time to answer. Okay, here's the list. Which ones did you remember? If you're like most people, you find it easiest to remember the partridge in the pear tree. Why? First of all, because it is repeated so many times in the song. You only sing Drummers Drumming once, but if you sing the song, you repeat the partridge 12 times. That's a lot of repetition. However, you're more likely to remember the drummers than the ladies dancing. Why? This is the serial position effect. You are more likely to remember items at the beginning and end of a list. For example, you probably know the current president is Barack Obama, and the one before him was George Bush. You probably also know George Washington was the first president. Can you remember all of the ones in between? Here are 5 specific items that impact memory: the spacing effect, the serial positioning effect, mnemonics, chunking, and hierarchy. The spacing effect is something we discussed at the beginning of class when we talked about study strategies. Semantic memories, like knowledge or parts of a neuron or battles in the Civil War, are better encoded if you rehearse them 10 minutes every day for a week, rather than 60 minutes in one day. The serial positioning effect, which we just discussed, involves both a recency effect and a primacy effect. The recency effect means we tend to remember the last item best, so you would remember the last part of the brain you learned, the role of the hemispheres, better than earlier parts. Over time, however, we shift to a primacy effect and tend to remember better the things we learned first. That's why I can still recall vocabulary from my very first days in Spanish class 30 years ago. Me gusta jugar al fútbol, but not much of what I learned in senior year. You've probably heard of mnemonics before. They are techniques or devices that help us remember. One popular mnemonic device is the peg word system. You memorize a jingle. 1 is a bun, 2 is a shoe, 3 is a tree, etc. And then you connect the words you want to remember with the items in this jingle. You want to remember to buy shampoo, printer paper, and chicken? Associate the chicken with the bun. Chicken goes in the bun. Shampoo rhymes with shoe. Paper comes from a tree. 1 bun, chicken. 2 shoe, shampoo. 3 tree, paper. A lot of people actually use this same 10-word rhyme to be able to remember lots of different lists. Another different mnemonic is the loci method. In this method, you assign each item you want to remember to a location. So if you want to remember charcoal, pens, a bed sheet, and a hammer, assign charcoal to the backyard, pens to the office, the sheet to the bedroom, and the hammer to the garage. When you need to recall the list, just take a tour of your house. A visual tour, that is. In the link method, you try to remember a list of items by creating a visual image of the items all together, like this image. This person might be trying to remember a lamp, a newspaper, a pen, an umbrella, and shaving cream. So they picture them all together, and then when they try to remember them, they just call up the picture. Another important memory concept is chunking. We can recall information better when we organize it into manageable chunks. Look at the numbers of the first line. Would you be able to recall these? I would have a very hard time remembering those numbers. But what about these numbers? Oops, what about these numbers? Are they easier to remember? 1776, American Revolution, 1492, Christopher Columbus, 1812, Battle of 1812, 1941, World War II. Suddenly that list of numbers becomes a lot easier to remember. This is why our phone numbers are broken up. So my phone number in the viewer room is not 651-621-7210, but 651-621-7210. Finally, hierarchies are important to how we organize our memories. Imagine a tree. Now imagine every leaf on the tree growing clumped together on one branch. If our memories were that way, all organized in one big clump, we would have a hard time finding them. Instead, our memories are like a well-organized filing system. When I create new lessons or handouts for this class, I open my document file on the computer. Then I go to the correct class and the correct unit. If I save the item there, I can easily find it again. If I don't, and I just save everything in the document file, good luck finding it. This is how our minds work too, with files inside of files. We organize information into broad categories, such as minerals, and then subdivide and fill in more details. Under minerals, we might put metals and stones. Under metals, rare, common, and alloys, and so forth. Hierarchies are simply a good filing system that makes it easier to retrieve items later.